Okay, everyone. I guess everyone can hear me. I'm Ivo from Ambire, and whoever was on my panel would know, but Ambire is an account abstraction wallet that aims to make self-custody easy and secure for everyone, especially DGens. So we aim to make an account abstraction wallet that can be your daily driver. And today what I'm going to talk to you about is Schnorr Signatures and account abstraction, which is really much made in heaven. So this talk has been adapted from a DEF CON talk, and the original title was The Future of Ethereum Wallets. But we are going to talk a lot about Schnorr Signatures and how they fit together with account abstraction. So why are we even having this talk? Why does even account abstraction exist? The reason is basically because we used to think that people are not ready for self-custody, right? We used to think that end users are not ready for self-custody, but this is a super twisted thinking. Nobody else who is building software is thinking that way. We should be building software for the users, not expecting the users to adapt to us. So in reality, it's the wallets that are not ready for the users and not the other way around. So what are the issues with self-custody? I'm sure that you already heard about those issues like 10 times today, and you've experienced them painfully, but let me remind you real quick. We have seed phrases, which are, the cursed words that are so easy to lose, so easy to get stolen, and people don't really understand seed phrases as a concept. Not even most crypto people understand seed phrases as a concept. Seed phrases are not a password. It's not an access code. It is literally your money. It is literally equal to your funds. The whole wallet is derived from that. So yeah, obviously you cannot recover this, you cannot change it, you cannot do anything with it. The other problem is compromised keys, and this could be due to malware. We've seen a lot of exploits lately. Most of them have been social engineering, but there has been like rumors of malware going around that steals private keys. It's possible, but social engineering is much more likely. Anyway, the point is that this is a big attack vector. And the other thing is supply chain attacks, and I'm telling you this, I don't want it to be true, but I'm telling you this is just the beginning of the supply chain attacks. We're just going to start seeing supply chain attacks from now on. Everyone in this room who has worked with JavaScript, can you raise your hands? Anyway, so you probably know how crazy the dependency tree can get in NPM when you type npm install. Each one of those packages is usually like, each project has thousands of packages down the tree. Each one of those authors can inject code in your project. So we are yet to see supply chain attacks. It's super scary. And by the way, if you're developing anything in Web3, you should be using package lock, and you should be taking care of it very rigorously. So yeah, we also have social engineering attacks, which is 99% of exploits in crypto. This is just due to poor UX. So this is just something that wallets need to work on. And how do we prevent this? The solution actually is really simple. It's kind of a silver bullet, but not really, but we're going to get into this. And the solution is really multisigs. Like, this is the approach of everyone. It's the approach of Argent, of Safe, of Ambire. Even though Argent doesn't talk about multisigs, the Guardian system is kind of a multisig. Ambire also has email password authentication. This is also a multisig under the hood. And Safe, we all know that this is a multisig. So multisigs doesn't only mean that that 5 people can have a wallet with a threshold signature. It also means that one person can have a wallet with multi-factor authentication. So why are multisigs kind of a silver bullet? So first of all, you can make seedless onboarding. You can create a few keys, have those keys across 3 devices, and then the wallet would unlock if you have access to all 3 keys. But if you lose one of the devices, you would get into a recovery procedure, which also has a time lock, which allows you to recover your account. Also, another version of this is is social recovery that Arjun does, or any form of account recovery, really. Then also we have multi-factor authentication, so you can confirm, like it could be set up in a way that you have spending limits with only one device, but you need to confirm on a second device if you want to spend more money. So yeah, that's really a model that we're familiar with from Web 2, from traditional banking, and it works well. Of course, this is also great because it's resistant to hacks and compromised keys, because if your wallet is secured not by one, but by 3 keys which all need to sign a transaction, then obviously if one device gets compromised, it's not that big of a deal. And so we have 2 ways, really, so far we've had 2 ways to build multisig wallets, right? One of them has been smart contract wallets or account abstraction, the approach we're familiar with from Safe, and the other one is MPC, or multi-party computation. So what's MPC? MPC is really a cryptographic term, but when it comes to wallets, it usually refers to being able to do ECDSA signatures on multiple devices with multiple key shards. So basically this is functionally equivalent to a multisig. It could be set up as threshold signatures, it could be set up as n out of n, meaning like 3 out of 3 or 2 out of 2. Usually that's the way it is. Again, in other words, a multisig. And of course, on the other side, we're all familiar with account abstraction. Each account is a smart contract. We have multiple names for this. Account abstraction, smart accounts, smart wallets, smart contract wallets, doesn't matter. You can do any custom executable logic. So, why are we making the case for account abstraction over MPC? It's not so much of a battle, and we're going to see this in the next slides. Those technologies can be combined together, but smart accounts are much more than just multisigs. They have time locks. They can have time locks. They can have spending limits, and this allows us to do like the more creative stuff with multisigs, like for example Argent's social recovery or Ambire's email password authentication, which heavily relies on time locks. They're mutable, which is and easily mutable, and that's another thing that we're going to touch upon. This means that you can change the authentication scheme at any point in time. We talked about this earlier in the panel. The safe guys call it progressive security, which is an amazing name for it. We call it upgradable security. Maybe we should also call it progressive security. The point is, you start with something very simple. You start with like one-click way to make your wallet, and then as you have more crypto and it makes sense for you to purchase a hardware wallet, you can purchase a hardware wallet, and you can migrate this account to be secured by the hardware wallet without changing address, without moving funds, without moving staking positions, just like that in a couple of minutes, really. Also, we have gas abstraction, which means that you can pay transaction fees in ERC20 tokens, you can prepay, and this is actually much bigger than it sounds. This is an onboarding feature. This is not a new X feature. This is really good for onboarding because imagine like your wallet supports 10 chains or whatever, or supports any chain, and you go on some new chain to be an airdrop hunter, right? You need to do a swap, you need to do this, you need to do that, and it's much more painful to have to bridge funds over in order to have the native token for that new chain, rather than being able to prepay for gas on Ethereum and then just pay gas on that other chain without having to worry about having the native token. So that's an amazing onboarding feature, and also great for privacy, because how many of us have actually sent Ether from a centralized exchange to our wallet to fund it in order to have gas? Probably all of us. Or asked a friend to fund our wallet with a bit of ETH to have money for gas. So those are 2 privacy vulnerabilities, right? You expose yourself to the exchange, and someone can connect you through your friend's address. And then finally, we have transaction batching, which is the ability to do multiple procedures in a single transaction. For example, you are able already to do a swap on Uniswap and then lend the funds on Aave in one single transaction, which is much more convenient and cheaper in terms of gas. So we have more benefits of smart accounts, but we're not going to talk about those today. Let's switch over to MPC and then compare it to Schnorr. So MPC has distinct advantages, which, as I'm saying, can be combined with smart accounts, but more on that later. One of them is the ability to do off-chain recovery. So there are multiple schemes which allow you to do off-chain recovery that don't require any interactions on-chain, and this is super cheap. Not cheap, it's free in terms of gas, and it's easy and it's instant. Versus smart account recovery procedures, which are usually kind of a ceremony. Multiple transactions need to be sent, and the big disadvantage of this is that it's not cross-chain. You need to do it individually on every single chain. Meanwhile, with MPC, you can do that at once. The other cool thing is that it's truly cross-chain. It has no dependence on the EVM and no dependence on smart contracts, so it can work with Bitcoin. Then another thing is there's no gas overhead. Smart accounts do have some gas overhead, especially with 4337, but with MPC you don't have this. And finally, you don't need to make any changes to the dApps. Signatures just work out of the box. But with this, there are some issues, right? So one of the issue is that cutting-edge cryptography is needed, and that is never good for wallets. Obviously, as a community, we're very experimental, but at the same time, with adopting new wallets, we're very conservative, which is excellent because obviously no one wants to get rugged. So any new wallet, especially if it's using cryptography that is not well established and not part of some very audited library, then that's obviously a big risk. We've all heard never roll out your own crypto. Another disadvantage of MPC, and you could argue with this point, but if anyone wants to argue about this, let's do this after the talk. But generally, with most MPC implementations, it's really hard to change the authentication rules without generating a new address. Usually when, for example, we want to change to, we are like in a setup, in an MPC setup with two signers, Alice and Bob, we want to make it Bob and someone else, then we have to generate a new address. Or otherwise it's sort of insecure or requires centralized coordination. And finally, MPC doesn't really work with hardware wallets until they implement it. Obviously, there's pull requests. Some MPC folks have prepared pull requests for Ledger, I think. The guys from Ledger can confirm this or not, but work is being done on this. But currently, it's not possible to use it. So, what's a better alternative? A better alternative is Schnorr Signatures, and Schnorr Signatures actually are the right way to do asymmetric cryptography signatures. ECDSA was adopted kind of as a compromise because when ECDSA was selected for Bitcoin in general, Schnorr was under a patent. And now the patent is expired, so we are now free to use Schnorr. But Schnorr is just a much simpler signature scheme. It's linear in mathematic terms, which means it can be aggregated, which is an amazing property. So like, I can take the public key of like 10 people, and I don't need a private key. I can just take their public keys and generate an aggregate public key. And then I can very easily verify a message from those 10 people in only one verification procedure. And those people do not need to do anything. I just need to have their public keys, and I can generate this like sort of aggregate public key. It's really amazing in mathematical terms. It preserves the MPC advantages, which are privacy, low gas cost, and fixed cost verification, which means that you can have like even 100 signers, and this doesn't matter. It will still cost the same to verify as only one signer, and it's very cheap. And it's also really well researched and really popular. You have a few good, really well researched schemes like Music 2, which is used in Bitcoin, and Frost, which is more popular in the Ethereum community, but both of them are excellent. And you can verify Schnorr signatures in Solidity for only 3,000 gas. And this is all enabled by account abstraction. This wouldn't be possible without account abstraction. Another big advantage of Schnorr signatures is that they require very few rounds to verify. So like, for example, if you're building an MPC wallet, you need to think about the fact that, like, imagine you have a phone and you want that phone to be a second factor in your wallet. You have to think about the fact that the phone and the PC, they need to pass messages a lot. Because like it's usually more than 2 rounds, so you need to pass a lot of messages between the phone and the PC, which is a lot of development overhead, and it's a lot of failure points for the wallet itself. So it makes everything more kind of janky and unreliable. So we have a few of the problems of MPC wallets are actually solved by Schnorr signatures. So one of them is that you don't need bleeding edge cryptography. You don't need kind of experimental crypto. Schnorr signatures, as I said, are super old, super established, and the only reason we're not using them is because they were under a patent. And as I said, the patent now expired. You also have more ways of rotating keys, which is really amazing because it opens new horizons in terms of off-chain account recovery. And as I said, off-chain account recovery is great because you don't have to do it on each network individually. You don't have to pay any gas for it. You don't have to wait for it. It's just an immediate procedure which allows you to recover access to your account in a very short amount of time on all networks, which is something that people are expecting coming from Web 2. And also worth noting that in the Schnorr case, you don't need that many key rotation options because you do have the ability of account abstraction wallets to rotate keys. So you can combine those two. You can combine everything that account abstraction does with Schnorr signatures. Unfortunately, it doesn't solve the last issue, which is that there is no compatibility with Trezor or Ledger, but my personal opinion is that this is, again, more realistic because, first of all, there is a lot less message passing back and forward, which simplifies the implementation. Second of all, it's a much more established algorithm or signature scheme. So this is pretty much how it goes. All of those are cool. All of those combinations are nice, but there is one combination that Vince McMahon loves the most. Yeah, and so that's a table that can kind of show you the picture. You can see that account abstraction ticks almost all the boxes except truly cross-chain because we don't support Bitcoin. And the most interesting thing of this table, I would say, is the gas fee because with Schnorr and AA and MPC and AA, it is cheap to verify, but you still have the AA overhead. With MPC alone, you literally have zero overhead, but it comes at a cost. Many of the other boxes are not ticked, as you can see. And Schnorr is a great kind of, I would say, compromise, but it's not a compromise because it ticks almost all the boxes. The only true disadvantage, other than no hardware wallet support, which can be sort of easily fixed, is that Schnorr and account abstraction as a combination is something that we will never see on Bitcoin because Bitcoin doesn't support smart contracts. But you can see Schnorr alone on Bitcoin. So there's great opportunities to combine those. And there has really been one very big advancement in this space, which is the Schnorr library, which is a JavaScript library. And I suggest that you take a picture of this slide, especially if you want to use it, and you should want to use it because it's amazing. This library allows you to produce Schnorr signatures that are verifiable on Ethereum right now for only 3,000 gas. Thanks to something Vitalik came up with in the Ethereum Researchers Forum, he discovered that you can abuse EC Recover to verify Schnorr signatures, which is absolutely amazing because it opens the door to so many signature schemes, as I said, like Frost and Music 2, without making any core changes to Ethereum and without expensive gas verification. We all know that if we want to do some fancy signature verification on Ethereum, it's usually over 100,000 gas. For example, Ledger implemented an amazing library for P256 verification, which is the NIST curve that is in all the devices around us, like in the iPhone, in Android devices, in web authentication, passkeys, whatever. It's the cheapest possible solution, and it's still over 100,000 gas. And here we're talking about 3,000 gas. So it is already integrated with Ambire contracts, and there is a work in progress to integrate it in safe contracts. And also a Rust port is on the way. Again, to summarize, this library is for creating the Schnorr signatures, and then you can verify them very easily on Ambire contracts and soon on safe contracts. So what did we learn? We learned that smart contract wallets or account abstraction is much more flexible and future-proof than standalone alternatives. And that standalone MPC can be a fantastic transitory option for specific use cases. Like if you want to build a wallet that supports Bitcoin and EVM alike, then really it's kind of the best option if you want account recovery. And then MPC plus account abstraction is the best of both worlds, but Schnorr plus account abstraction is even better. And a quick update before I take questions, a quick update on what's new with Ambire. We are building a browser extension, and the cool thing about this browser extension is that It supports both smart accounts, account abstraction and EIP 4337, and EOAs in the same extension, which is really convenient because nobody really wants to migrate over to account abstraction right away. People are rightfully careful and cautious about new wallet options. So what we do is we allow you to import your normal accounts that you use daily. And also, Ambire is really unique in that it provides seamless account abstraction, so you have the same address on each network, even with smart accounts. So even with account abstraction, you still have the same address on each network. It's quite fast, and we would love to get feedback from you guys. Feedback is extremely valuable for us, especially in this early stage, and you would get a free backpack, and they're limited to 10. So yeah, it takes like 5 minutes to test the extension. Please help us out. We are in the hallway. You cannot miss us. We have a LED backpack with the Ambire logo, which is right there, a flame. And yeah, I think it's time for questions. Yeah, I think you need to get the mic. Do you? There's one question there. Should he get a microphone or just say it?
Or I can shout.
There's another question at the back with the mic. Is it okay?
Okay, let's start with the one with the mic and then, yeah.
Maybe a bit off topic, but why Schnorr over something like BLS when the communication cost of BLS is less and you get things like time lock encryption as well?
Actually, that's a fantastic question. It comes up to the fact that you can verify Schnorr for 3,000 gas. Everything comes from that hack that Vitalik found, because like we can use any signature scheme we want. The EVM is Turing complete, so you can do whatever. But it's not practical if it costs 3 million gas. I know BOS doesn't cost that much. But still it's not 3K, right? So it's amazing to have this ability to do something like this with almost zero gas overhead. So that's what it's about. And the average user doesn't want to pay like $10 additional for each transaction just because the developers like a different signature scheme. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. Yeah?
I would also I'm from Ledger. I'm the guy who implements the SegP curves. First, if you consider the cost of the signature but related to all you have to integrate with a bundler and so on, actually the fact is not the price is not that expensive, 70K compared to all the bundling and so on. So the thing is using the EC hack, you're not standard, and maybe it would be really interesting to be compatible, for example, with the taproot mechanism.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
No, I mean, there are two questions. First, maybe it would be interesting to respect standards, because the price of EC computation, 70K, compared to the bundling, all you have, the overcost of bundling, reduce it to 70K. So I guess verification. Here's the verification using the EC hack.
So first of all, 70K is orders of magnitude higher than 3, and still not practical from a user experience point of view, because, like, as I said, as a practical wallet for end users, you don't want to be 3 or 4 times more expensive than MetaMask. So that's one of the things. Second of all, if you mean bundling different user operations into one and saving through that, we don't have enough volume in 4337 to do proper signature aggregation yet and to benefit from it. Also, it's quite complicated to bundled signatures, because like you have an aggregated signature for like an individual multisig, and then you would have to aggregate it together with different user ops. And then the second question, can you repeat that one?
Oh, yeah, it was it was just that we have to count the whole cost of the user. So 3 to 70, it's not that cost that we must compare, but the full transaction.
No, it is, because like a swap on Uniswap is like 50K to 100.
Yeah.
So 70 is a big percentage of this.
Yeah. And another point is, we are working on multisig, but it's just actually we could have both. What could be done is to integrate the ledger into the wallet in some MPC scheme. I think the best of both worlds, meaning that Some tinfoil people may fear that, for instance, a ledger is trapped about the firmware. So using MPC techniques, it's also a very good technique to have both. Okay, we would have to corrupt both Ambire and ledger, which I think now is really tinfoil. So this is also something that MPC brings.
Yeah,
you can use as well the software that Ambire is building with the ledger. And now the model of attacker is you have to correct both the Ambire implementation and the ledger. So MPC is clearly the good tech and the way we should go to.
In that way, definitely agreed. But also you have to keep in mind that the standards, the topic of respecting standards is really nuanced and it's not black and white, because what we are proposing here and what the Schnorr library is proposing is not against standards. So it's following the Bitcoin standards. The thing that is kind of non-standard is abusing easy recover, which is not, it's never going to break. It's not like, it's still following the rules, the mathematical rules of easy recover, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You have to provide an oracle, which is the hash.
No, there's no oracle. Anyway, do we have time for more questions? Okay, good. That's it.